Hello, everyone. This is Tyrone Clark, and I'm here with my colleague, David Royer. We don't need to get into who we are and our backgrounds and discussions. I think we're kind of well known throughout the industry, almost 40 years plus. So we're going to talk about, we're in a crisis right now, and basically advisors, agents, financial planners, independent advisors, we basically have to adapt our practice or simply perish. Most advisors are in a survival mode right now where they're just simply trying to hold on to their business and survive. And you're looking for real solutions and real answers. And so let me kind of put it this way. We know that the virus continues to spread, and several states have adapted the California model and are shutting down all non-essential businesses and encouraging everyone to self-quarantine. We think that will probably be an entire nation that will have to happen. At the same time, our markets are taking a sheer beating, and we're deep into bear market territory. But your clients and prospects need your services. Because there's a flight to safety, as there usually has been. Although we're in a crisis situation, this is the time when the insurance agent is a superhero. That's right, because of the industry, the life insurance industry. And I want to tell everybody this. I've been in the business over 40 years. I think David's been in it a bit longer. And we have been through quite a few crises over the many years. But here's the crux and the meat for you and your clients and your family. When it comes to a crisis like this, the life insurance industry is the strongest industry on the face of the planet. And the reason why is there's 5 different legs that the life insurance industry sits upon, which is the legal reserve system, the state guarantee fund system, a reinsurance system, holding companies with cash reserve system, and the requirement of how insurance companies invest premiums, which is based on asset to liability matching. So we are the safe industry throughout history, and you need to look at those 5 pillars that I just talked about. So we are in a position right now where we can provide comfort to our clients because our industry has been through this several times before. Now, I also want to say this, that as a Christian, and whether or not you're Christian, whatever faith you are, but we as Christians are not to cling to fear. So fear not. And we know that we are not fearful. And I want to say that I'm going to be sending out a number of scriptures to all the people I work with from the Bible that talks about fear. We are not to fear. And we are here to help our clients so we can be superheroes. So the reason for our discussion today is basically agent survival and how can you thrive at a time like this. Because no more libraries, community college, universities, restaurants, rec center, seminars, classes, and workshops have all been shut down. So agents are having to move to the digital, online meetings and online seminars and workshops. So here's the news. David and I have spent the last 2 to 3 weeks researching, examining, and looking at all of these different methods of online seminars, workshops, and online meetings. We've interviewed and spent hours and hours and hours. But what we're trying to find is what is really for real, what works, what actually works, and what is a bunch of baloney. And we found a lot of baloney. We found a lot of stuff we don't want our agents to jump onto because we found that doesn't work. So before you jump on board with some marketing piece you get on in your email to do this, move your seminar to digital, and then you find it doesn't work, here's the point. At a time like this, most agents don't have a lot of capital to burn. So if you try one or two marketing programs and burn 5 to 15, 20 grand, and if they don't work, you're in trouble because we don't know how long this is going to last. So we take that very serious, and our agents are like our family. We have strong relationships with you all, and we don't want you getting burned and jumping into stuff that doesn't work. So David, for example, has been going through a lot of stuff. So we're going to give you the insight so to really help prepare you on kind of what's working and what's not working. And we're going to kind of lead you in the direction of where we feel comfortable with. Okay. Now, keep this in mind. When someone says, got to go to digital, got to go online, here's what it really means. You may have a seminar or a workshop that you want to put online. So you got to have a platform that is easy to access for a consumer and to register for and watch it. So that's a platform to be able to put it on. Your seminar has to be formatted and probably changed. May not be a long presentation. Now, that's step one. Step two is the content has to have a different call to action. The call to action today is a Zoom meeting. It's not a face-to-face. So you got step one. Step two is a call to action has to be done right and into a Zoom private meeting. And then step three is your Zoom meeting has to be done right and enable you to do e-applications and make it very smooth and seamless. So you got three different tasks if you're going to try to continue selling online and so forth. And now I'm going to put David on. So David, let's talk about some of the alleys and pathways that we've been led down in order to try to shake the trees to find out what's really working. And Dave, go ahead.
Well, Tyrone, for the past 2.5 weeks, I have been interviewing online companies, and I've actually interviewed 11 different companies that said they can take our workshops to their online platform. And these are not short interviews. They were in depth. Some of them were 2 hours long. And in interviewing these different online platforms, we were looking for 5 things. Number one and most important, can they really do it, or are they just building the platform? So we narrowed it down to the ones that can really do it. Number two, as Tyrone mentioned, a lot of you have spent money for workshops and your venues got canceled. And this is not a time to waste money or take chances, so we're doing this heavy lifting for you. Second thing I wanted to find out from these vendors, is it cost effective? And what I'm finding out in most cases, well, number one, you've eliminated the cost of food, and so all of your expense for the most part will go to advertising your online workshops. Third thing I wanted to find out, is it easy for you, the advisor, to use? See, if you've got a screen with 15 different buttons on it and drawing boards and all this other nonsense that you'll never use, it's just confusing. So I wanted it narrowed down to 2 buttons, start and stop. And the fourth thing, is it going to be easy for consumers to attend? What are they going to have to do to join your online webinar? So we're only going to work with companies that have a one-click to get registered. And then the final thing, what data do you get from your workshop attendees? Because, ladies and gentlemen, if they attend your workshop and all you're going to get is the name, the phone number, and the email address, you're essentially making a pretty much cold call. So the vendors we're working with are actually going to be doing surveys during the workshop to find out what are their real concerns right now today. Now, we know one of them is going to be losing money in the market as their accounts are dropping. They don't want to overpay their fees and loads. A lot of them are going to want to be doing rollovers from 401ks, 403bs, TSP plans to IRAs. And you need to gather the data so that you know when you make that initial phone call, you already know what their concerns are. So I've narrowed this down to 4 companies. We call them vendors or fulfillment companies that actually have all the capabilities that we're looking for. Now, and what I've been hearing and what I've been reading from the vendors and online and other sources is that most seniors are staying home, and they're getting tired of watching reruns, and they're spending a lot of time on Facebook. So we believe we can draw good attendance. See, in the past, if you were running a Facebook ad to develop a lead or to populate a seminar, you had to run them on Saturdays when people were home. Well, now everybody's home, so every day is a good day. Now, what I've learned is there's a lead time for setting these up. Now, those of you that have done consumer workshops and you sent out the mail, you picked the venue, you did all those things, you had to start about 35 days before the venue to start ramping up to that workshop. Online, it's going to be much quicker. On average, from the time you make the commitment, you can be in front of an audience online within 10 days. So it's going to be faster. It's going to cost less. Now, the workshop that we're talking about, it's all about IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, TSP plans. It's about their retirement savings. And ladies and gentlemen, that's where people are feeling the pain right now. The market's down again today, and it doesn't seem that there's any stimulus packages that are going to pick it up anytime soon.
So David, let me mention that when David was just making the bullet points about the content. Now, this is one major, very good content point is sequence of return risk. Now is the worst time to retire in terms of sequence of return. So if you're not prepared for that, but we have the information on that. David, I just want to say something else to everybody, and you'll get back into more details of what we found. But this is also pretty important. We spoke to what I would say is probably the number one top appointment setter in the whole industry, a wonderful woman who does nothing but schedule appointments for advisors all day long. And she's like the superstar of scheduling appointments. And she knows what works and what doesn't work because she's on the phone 10 hours a day. Sometimes we'll call people back 20 times. And one of the things that she said, that she's able to schedule Zoom appointments for consumers, but she said that the agents who are not wanting to do online appointments, the clients do not want to see the agent. And she said it's a waste because so many people right now are ready to learn and learn online. So keep this in mind when you're going to digital online like David is talking about. That consumer is also going to take a look at your website. So if your website has a poor appeal or it looks like you're going in a certain direction on what you recommend, then you may consider getting that website up to par, which we have a source for you as well. But now let's get back to what do we do today. Can we put a seminar online? How does it work? How do we do it? And then how are people motivated to go watch a seminar online? It's one thing to have your seminar set up online. It's another thing to actually attract people to it. So David, you want to kind of talk about that?
Well, one of the things that we're doing, and this is something else I asked all the different vendors while narrowing it down to 4, is you have to have a good ad. Now, one of the things that we offer on my team is a copy of my book. It's a best-selling book, Top 10 IRA Mistakes and How to Avoid IRA Tax Traps. So our ad will have a copy of the book, and how do you get a complimentary copy of it, and that's going to help drive them to your workshop. So we think a combination of that and what's happening in the market today and the fact that seniors are at home, they're on the internet all day long, most of them are on Facebook, we believe, and again, we're going into uncharted territories, but all the indicators are we believe we can draw a good audience. And Ty makes a really good point. One of the things, now we're working through this and we're going to get information out to those of you that are working with us, and that's going to happen within the next week, 10 days maximum. But remember, it doesn't take 35 days to set up an online workshop. You can do this within 10 days. So some things to be thinking about. I recommend you check out Zoom and Join Me, because just what Tyrone mentioned, and with the appointment setter, folks, these seniors are not going to want to come to your office. They're not going to want you to come to their home. They want to stay home. They want to be safe. But right now, they're starving for information about how do I save myself from this market crash. So once we, I'm sorry, Todd, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, the good news is we have agents right now that are actually engaged in these campaigns so that we can give real results to you from the agents that are engaged in the campaigns currently. So we can tell you, they're kind of the guinea pigs that, on your behalf, guys, on gals. So we're going to have that pretty soon and see how it really fans out with the ones that we narrowed it down to. And we're not going to go through the vendors and mention who they are and all of that. We're going to also put it in your hands for you to kind of talk to them as well and ask them anything you want. Go ahead, David.
Well, as Ty mentioned, actually, Ty, we now have 2 guinea pigs. One of our advisors is doing his first online workshop being advertised on Facebook, and that's on March 31st, so that's not even 10 days from today. He's doing another one on April the 2nd and April the 4th. And we just had a second advisor that said, okay, we need to move on this quickly. And this agent's doing it April the 14th and April the 21st. By the end of the week, when I get the different names and contact information for the vendors that we have fully vetted and that we have confidence in, you'll have an opportunity to interview each one and decide which program you want to work with. Now, some of them will be pre-recorded. They call that evergreen. So when you hear that word evergreen, that just means it can be run at any time. Some of them will be done live, and those will be recorded as well. And when you've got a recording that you're proud of, that you think is effective, then you can make that evergreen. So you can use the recording, and you'll no longer have to be getting on the internet and making that presentation. So within the next couple of weeks, we're going to have some rock-solid data. We're using 2 of the 4 different vendors, and then the next 2 people that sign up will use the other 2. And we're going to be able to give you some real numbers, not promises that, hey, we can put your workshop online tomorrow and a lot of people are going to come and you're going to make money. In my research in the last 2.5 weeks, I found out that there are more companies out there saying they can do this than can actually do it. So we've taken them through the vetting process. We've got our trial runs. We've got 2 of them already set up. So we're going to have some good, solid data for you. And we hope to be giving you some really good news on these already scheduled workshops in the coming weeks.
So let's talk about a couple of these. So some of these digital companies are using direct mail to send to people to motivate them to go online to watch your seminar. Some are sending postcards. Some are even taking a look at having eat at home where the food is delivered to them. But some people are actually getting skeptical of that. Other online companies are using simply email, social media, social media methods to try to get people to watch the seminars online. So we have found a tremendous variety of services. And then we found one unique vendor that gives a prize to people to go watch the seminar. And it sounds extremely attractive, but until we see the real results. So let me just tell this to everybody. When it comes to all these companies, do you know what question all of them just kind of stop at? We said, okay, who do you have that is doing this, that has real results that we can speak with? That's when it's kind of like, right, David?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we just cannot afford to experiment at your cost. And so we are actually engaged with this with our agents to see where we can rely on there is some good news, but we have to fully vet it and test it, with ourselves and with what we're doing. So that's the news. We're all going to be sending you information with hopefully in the next couple of days. Now, let me give you something that's a positive. Right now, you can contact all your clients, prospects, anyone you can, because we're exclusive to a product that pays 2.25% guaranteed for 1 year, and it's 100% liquid at the end of 1 year. It's an annuity. I call it the liquid annuity. There's two options. The second option is 100% liquidity at all times, just like a money market account, but it's a lower interest rate. I think it's 1.75, or I'm sorry, 2%, if they want it fully liquid, or you lock in a higher rate guaranteed for 1 year with no penalty. That's better than bonds. It's better than cash. Right now, everybody's telling clients, go to cash, go to bonds, or stay where you're at. Well, here they can take a year off the stock market if they want and lock in a gain, have money, or no taxes, it's tax deferred, and at the end of 1 year, it's 100% liquid. And then if they want, they could renew it again, and it pays like an AUM kind of compensation that pays every year. So there's a lot of details, to this, and it's a company that's been around since 1892. They've been through World War I, World War II, the Great Depression, Great Recession, $2.3 billion in assets with no debt. So you could call your clients right now, give them assurance about their money being in an insurance company, and offer another alternative that's fully liquid or liquid at the end of 1 year. That's a great solution. You call David, you can call myself. And so we're going to give you the results here in a couple of days. If you want to call us to talk about details on this, we've got it all charted out, and we've been talking nonstop on the phone. So, and by the way, be leery of people say, oh, this is great, it's online, you just do it, we've been doing it, and so forth. Okay, I want the results, and I want to talk to somebody with results. That's when the BS happens. So, so give us a day or two to get the results back on stuff we've been looking at. We have narrowed this down. I do want to say, David, we found a really good program, but it was very expensive. So there's some people that are doing a little price gouging, that because we found the same kind of service without the price gouging. Any comments, David?
Yeah, I've experienced the same thing. As a matter of fact, like all of you that have an email address and an insurance license, you're on everybody's email list. And I know that there are marketing companies out there that are sending out emails that we've got this resolved, et cetera, et cetera. So I followed up on some of those emails and found out who is the vendor. In other words, whose online platform are you using? And then I would call that online platform and say, well, I understand you're working with so-and-so, and you've got this all wired and ready to go. And I'm hearing things like, well, no, we're actually still in the negotiating phase, and we're still building the platform, but hopefully we'll be ready in a week or 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever that time frame is. So a lot of this is just blatant recruiting, advertising, and there's nothing behind it. That's what I learned by following up on those leads. And so, folks, that's why Tyrone and I have been vetting these companies. We want to make sure that they can really do it. It's cost effective. It's easy for you to use. It's going to be easy for the consumers to attend. And you're going to gather data during these workshops. It's interactive. You'll gather data about what their primary concerns are, so that when you call on that client, it might be risk, or it might be overpaying fees and loads. It might be, how do I do an effective rollover? It could be a number of things. So there'll be a survey that'll accompany the workshop, and at the end of each section, they'll be asked to check off a box if they have interest or concern. So it's going to be very interactive. And like Tyrone said, we're going to have live data, and we're going to be able to tell you what works, and we're going to have data from 4 different vendors. One I want to mention in particular, the way you pay for the online workshop, you decide what your budget is. They don't have a limit, max or minimum. And whatever that budget is, let's say it's $2,000, which is typically less than you're going to pay for mail and the meals, $5,000 expense for workshops. So let's say you put in $2,000. They're going to take 21 and 25 the other percent of that money, and that's what you're paying them for the use of their pre-built platform. All of the rest of this money is going to go on internet advertising. And you can do it as often as you want. There's no time commitment. So of the four that we're looking at, that model appeals to me the most, and I think it'll appeal to you the most as well. But again, very soon we're going to have some rock solid data, and when you call us and you want to know how many people attended, how many one-on-one appointments, sales, the whole cycle, we're going to have rock solid answers for you.
Oh, all right. So one last note here is if you want to talk about some of these details, let me say this that's important that you need to look at, So let's just go through this, David. One company that does direct mail, so they send a direct mail piece to a consumer saying, go online for the seminar. Well, here was the problem. When a consumer goes online, if they miss one digit, then they get frustrated and they can't go online. And then sometimes there's another step and there's another step. So you can't just jump on things. You have to really look through, right, David? Explain the flaws that we found.
Yeah, it's really important. It's going to be very difficult to use direct mail in conjunction with online workshops because they're going to have to type in that URL. And you know what happens when you type in, you miss one character, you get a big white screen and it says, oops. Well, when that happens, the consumer's done. Now, we are working with one of the vendors that has an alternative. They can send out postcards, and they don't have to type in a URL. They can call an 800 number and say they'd like to attend this online workshop. It will be advertised that way, and then they'll receive a link from Seminar Edge. All they've got to do to get on that workshop online at the appointed time is just click on that link. So direct mail may come back into the mix, but most of the companies I'm talking to that know what they're talking about, they say if you're going to advertise, if you're going to do it online, you should advertise it online. And once you get them on your real estate, your advertisement, you want to keep them there. So we're going to experiment with a number of different ways, but right now I'm hearing that Facebook and Twitter are the two things that are being used the most by these seniors that are staying at home. And so we're going to use these two methods, primarily Facebook. We're going to advertise to them online. One click, they can register for the workshop, and then at the appointed time, one click, and they're in the meeting. So,
and then one last point, David, is most of the insurance companies are now putting out guidelines for online business and some cautionary things that they have in terms of Zoom meetings. So you want to make sure that you access that information. We've got it. So some of it's helpful as a guide as well. And now I'm going to also mention this. I think for a lot of us that are going to digital on demand online, and when this virus situation subsides, I think you're going to continue going online, and I think you might even have more opportunity and more business. Because right now, although this is a very unfortunate situation, don't forget people are home right now. A lot of them are getting bored, so now's the time to go direct, through what we're talking about, and provide these for them. And even a solution like the product I was talking about. One other thing I wanted to say to you is I said this is a time that insurance agents are superheroes. Well, that's going to get even bigger, and I'll tell you why. I believe with the national, debt situation combined with the money to, help for the virus, is going to be 2 or 3 different economic distributions, which can be, I think, in my opinion, be up to $10+ trillion when all is said and done. And so if we're taking $10+ trillion they're having to add into the economy and the current national debt, The question I have for you is, do you think taxes are going to go up? You better believe it. So this is the time to protect grandfathering status for insurance products. This is a time to really help your clients with the living benefits that the products have, with the death benefits, with the money growing without taxes as it grows, where you take it out upon death. So this is the time that we should be selling more insurance than we've ever sold in our lives. And and David, especially you, having been, 44 years in the business and all the things we've been through, this is a time, instead of just, being silent and quiet, you need to be on the phone as many clients and prospects as you possibly can. And let me give you all good news. We have a life insurance company that I think goes up to $3 million with online application with no exam or nothing. It's a product you can sell all day long online to people like crazy. And combine that with the safe haven kind of annuity. I call it the liquid annuity. So this is a time for you to help people. So it's not so much about selling, it's about helping them, giving them peace of mind. So David, any closing thoughts from you?
Yeah, I would say this, and probably we ought to offer a phone number, Ty, but two things. One, stay safe and keep your clients safe. And also stay tuned, because very soon we're going to have concrete data where you can calculate what you need to spend on advertising and how that relates to the number of people that attend your workshop and how that relates to the number of people that you actually have online one-on-one interviews with. So everybody, please stay safe, and thanks for having me on today, Ty.
Well, God bless everybody, and thank you, David.